to see Sarkoris green again.
I don't need anyone's sympathy.
I'll watch your back.
Mimosi Travisi. Adayana.
I heed the voice of the spirits.
Travisi. Aborane Sentes.
Doubt is the heart's greatest challenge.
Aborane Sentes. Travisi. travisi.
No reason to pause.
Yes, ma'am. Are we in trouble yet?
Mimosi travisi.
I appreciate privacy.
You can trust me.
A bright future awaits us.
We are walking on dangerous ground here.
Let's have some fun.
I'll cut you wide open!
crossed the wrong mongrel.
I'll split you in half!
Won't survive me.
Smear them!
Endure this!
Open your heart to me.
Magritium Turino!
Move aside! Make way!
Don't know how I ended up here, but here I am.
Inimosi travisi. Inimosi.
Aperane Sentes. Una Avellana.
I welcome your company.
my blade!
Pachami Savi.
Make every strike count.
Out of my way!
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
I'll split you in half!
Pachami Savi.
Smear them!
Smile. The world's not ending just yet.
Magritium Turinos. Magritium Turinos. Magritium Turinos. Magritium Turinos.
Oh, the waiting's never fun.
In the visage of the ghoul before you, one can barely recognize the Honorable Vasily Rathimus, your regimental cleric. His fuzzy gray beard is gone along with his other hair, and his once lively face has grown gaunt and livid. The skull of the old cleric is cracked open and whitish larvae wriggle inside, but this seems not to bother him at all. Heretics. Dirty slaves of false gods. The cleric paces up and down before a desecrated altar on which an unholy symbol of Cabriri has been drawn. A group of ghouls have brought the soldiers to kneel before him. Renounce your idols, bow down before him who gnaws, or you shall be sacrificed upon his altar. Demon lord of ghouls, graves, and secrets kept by the dead, Cabriri is believed to be the first humanoid, according to most tales, an elf, who fed upon the flesh of his brother. He was reborn in the abyss in a vast necropolis that the plane created in his honor. No. Never. Holy Iomade, hear me now. I will gladly die before I renounce you. A sacrifice. The old man's claws sink into the soldier's body. Shuddering in pain, the latter whispers a prayer through his teeth. Well. Who will be the first to taste flesh? Who will take Cabriri's communion?
I will.
A pale woman looks at the cleric. Her eyes are glassy with madness.
I renounce Serenre. Hail to Cabriri. I will do anything. Anything you say.
The old man turns toward you. His face is torn by claws and distorted in a vicious smirk. The commander. Look, the commander. Servant of the false gods. He leads the crusaders on their march to the slaughterhouse. He will make a fine sacrifice. Grab him. Gnaw him.
You won't survive me.
No glory without risk!
us.
The Inheritor, guide my blade!
Follow me, or don't.
I will help where I can. Together, we stand.
Quiet steps. Weapons ready.
Move aside.
The spirits guide me.
I don't need anyone's sympathy.
At your discretion.
Lead on. It is no trouble.
Missed me already.
I'm curious.
Heads will roll!
Manishrin Sukino.
The forced reclusion that once seemed a curse to me is becoming more bearable now that I have access to materials to work with. In my current straitened circumstances, my only diversion lies in scientific endeavor and exercising my mental faculties. Creating witless undead from crude components is the preserve of ignore muses incapable of conceiving an original thought. With the application of even the barest effort and magic, any necromancer can unlock the true potential of our art. By availing oneself of the school of transmutation, several incomplete bodies can be turned into a single construct that markedly improves upon the capabilities of the raw material. However, even the most ambitious mages pursuing the path of necromancy rarely decide to take that final step and transform themselves in the same fashion as their own creations. Why? What drives such powerful revulsion to undeath among those whose life is criminally short? Perhaps the reason is fear of the gods, whose will these mages violate when they dare to meddle in the supreme order of things. Perhaps the instinctive disgust that arises when encountering eternal travelers in death is caused by the decay and desiccation of the corporeal sheath. Perhaps it is sentimental attachments that weaken the resolve. Not every mortal is capable of ascending to Liquidum. Each one of us who has attained such a state has traveled an entirely distinct path from that of our peers, but we were united by one and the same goal, to which we drew nearer with all the inevitability of a knife hurtling toward a heart. In truth, ascension begins not with knowledge of the art of creating a phylactery, nor with books on advanced necromancy, but with the creation of an inimitable and incorruptible ideal in the mage's soul, the ideal of immortality. This book grants a +1 competence bonus to DC on a spell with death descriptor. Until recently, we knew this world as it was described in books and stories. A sewer, torn apart by hyenas that separate us with nations and borders, oppress us with extortion and lies, and assert their authority and power. However, someone else's hand rules these slaves who act like masters. It's a threat far more intimidating than a handful of arrogant fools. Our lands are secretly ruled by the most ancient creatures of Golarion, the inhabitants of the Everdark Depths, who know both past and future. People are led along paths they cannot see, and do not have the power to leave, to an end known only to the hidden masters. Some insist that the signs are purely coincidental, but they point to a vast conspiracy. Only a fool can fail to see how the myriad coincidences weave into a great cobweb. Or they have submitted their very will and sworn their allegiance to our unseen masters in the depths. I failed to resist temptation, and quickly doused my weary feet in the holy waters of the oasis. I washed my feet off first, for it would never do to desecrate a divine font with the dust of the road. The sunset danced upon the surface of the water. I closed my eyes as my flesh went numb, in yearning anticipation of a miracle. On the road, pain had gnawed at my heart, but now it melted into the holy water, and my sores seemed to fade away. I looked into my heart, and questioned the purity of my thought. Was I worthy enough to escape my torment? Would Sarenrae give me a sign? I was prepared to greet the sound of flapping dove wings. The fever overwhelmed me. I sensed the divine rays, but the sun had set. The light was coming through my eyelids. I witnessed the figures of Sarenrae and her angels. I dared open my eyes, but they were heavy, as if burdened with all the weight of the sun's heat. Sleep dawned upon me. Sarkorian refugees, driven from their home, tried to get as far away from demon-corrupted lands as they could. Many of them, exhausted from their long travels or just unable to find acceptance among local residents, stayed outside already existing settlements. These communities remain to this day, and they all share a certain curious tradition. This celebration was seemingly established at the same time in all Sarkorian enclaves, even in the most distant ones. The event bears several names: Night of the Witch, For Lesh's Verdict, Bonfire Night, among others. The preparations begin several days in advance. The adults craft an enormous effigy of the most hated servant of the Abyss, the witch Arilu For Lesh, who opened the tier between two planes and thus earned the titles Architect of the World Wound and Betrayer of Humanity. The children, who are usually relieved from their chores, gather kindling in the nearby forest. Instead, they might ask their neighbors for some wood, traditionally voicing their request in the form of concern: they need something to warm the witch's feet. On the appointed day, the crowd places the effigy on a pole in the center of the settlement or neighborhood, where everyone can throw mud at it until sunset. At nightfall, cheers erupt as Aurela Forlesh's effigy burns to ash. It's worth noting that effigy incineration is so akin to an atrocious method of execution that guards and other enforcers often observe these festivities with great suspicion. However, any claims of the Sarkorians burning those suspected of demon worship in the place of an effigy are idle flights of fancy, lacking substance.
Move aside.
Absalom, published by the Fori Logos Archaeological Society. The middle of the plateau that forms central Sarkoris was the location of the region's capital, the city of Iz, the country's metallurgical heart. The rich mineral deposits of these lands had been known to the Khelids since ancient times, and over the long centuries, plenty of mines and workshops had sprung up here, and their output flowed into Iz. From here, traders led their heavily loaded caravans to other parts of Sarkoris and beyond. Many a wonder crafted by the Khelids over the years of their capital's prosperity disappeared without a trace with the demonic invasion and Iz's destruction. Local artisans were most skillful in their trade, which can be seen through the few surviving works of weaponsmithing, jewelry making, and metal casting arts. And while silver headdresses with ornate temple rings and lightweight sabers with hilts bearing their owner's initials can still be found in museums and private collections, other handcrafted examples of Iz's legacy are lost forever. Specifically, we, of course, only know of architectural landmarks of both secular and sacred variety through scarce descriptions. Meanwhile, local stonecutters were recognized throughout all Sarkoris, as many palaces, temples, and monuments decorating other cities were made by the hands of artisans from Iz. The roots of sin magic are in the 7 virtues of rule laid down by Archmage Exion, sovereign of the Thessalonian Empire. According to his teachings, the virtues, charity, generosity, humility, kindness, love, temperance, and zeal, were a gift from one of the supreme goddesses of the empire, Lasala. Only just and wise rulers would be deemed worthy of receiving these high rewards. A metamorphosis, however, turned the 7 virtues into 7 sins. In Thassalon, the 7 strongest mages, named Rune Lords, had been made governors of each part of the vast empire that had grown beyond one human's control. Emperor Exion's reign ended when he died at the hands of his own stewards. With the emperor deposed and a puppet installed as his replacement, these Rune Lords became true masters of their territories. Plotting against each other and warping Exion's tenets, the mages gradually perverted the 7 virtues, while becoming manifestations of these corrupt aspects. Greed, lust, pride, gluttony, envy, wrath, and sloth set into the lands of Thassalon, plunging the empire into the depths of depravity and profligacy, causing it to crumble from the inside. And even though Earthfall brought about the end of the nation, it did not put an end to the Runelords' misdeeds, for each of them had foreseen the calamity and did all in their power to prevent their death in the disaster that destroyed Thassalon. Nerosian, published by the Royal Court of Mendef. Demons and their worshippers have long been active in the vicinity of Sarkoris. Even back in the year 4433, the abyssal hordes and Oread himself waged a grand battle in the region now known as the World Wound. The forces of good had triumphed then, as the god of humanity defeated Descari's minions and drove the surviving demons back, straight into the waters of the Lake of Mists and Veils. Why did the denizens of the abyss have such keen interest in the northern reaches of Avistan? To the dismay of all mortal kind, Aureliu Forlesh answered this question, and has consequently gone down in history as the architect of the world wound and the betrayer of humanity. Born of humans, this fiend felt such hatred toward her own kind and was filled with such boundless selfishness that, for the sake of ascension and power, she pledged herself to the abyssal lords. An adept of the arcane jailed by the Sarkorians in the prison fortress of Threshold, she accomplished something that the Descarites who perished in the lake had failed at previously. She ripped apart the planar fabric that had been thin in Sarkora since days of yore. Her thought and will thoroughly corrupted to mirror the foulest depths of the abyss, Aureliu Forlesh forged a deplorable alliance with Descari and began hatching the heinous plan that she put into motion in the year 4606. It was then that Aureliu and her accomplices performed the ritual that cut open creation itself like a knife and left a festering tear in the material plane that would never heal, the world wound connecting Golarion with the abyss. By a tragic coincidence or perhaps by some evil intent, the world wound was created mere weeks after Oread's death. Millions of Oread's followers and priests across the world were filled with the horror and despair normally reserved to orphaned children, partially explaining why humanity did not realize there and then the sheer threat of the newly opened Sarkorian portal. Taking advantage of turmoil in the mortal world, Descari drove his forces to attack the defenseless Sarkoris, and Aureliu Forlesh, who had been rewarded for her betrayal, started on her path toward demonic existence. Publishing funded by the Brotherhood of Crusader Adherents. Remember, Crusader, your foes are many, and each one is devious in its own way. In the lands of the world wound, two demonic masters rule. Learn to distinguish their influence and their followers. Descari is a demon lord who commands locusts and other crawling pests. It is an all-devouring wave that sweeps away all that is bright, majestic, and pure, leaving behind nothing but decay and ashes. For 100 years, this evil fiend and his lackeys have been sowing death and suffering all across Golarion, sending one horde after another through the world wound and onto our plane. Descari's visage is hideous, for his essence is a horrid crossbreed of humanoid and insect, and behind his back are fluttering wings woven from swarms of insects. Born of two demons, Descari despises both his brethren that were once mortal and his own human followers. Knowing of this disdain, the cleverest of his cultists seek ways to transform themselves into full-blooded demons, and to this end, they attempt some of the vilest experiments on their own flesh. Descari has been behind the horrors of the world wound ever since its creation. However, the other demon lord, Baphomet, joined him only at the onset of the Third Crusade. The goat-headed demon lord is cunning and slippery, and where his unholy kin makes his way through brute force, Baphomet prefers deceit, corruption, and backstabbing. Many noble houses trying to preserve their veneer of exalted dynasties keep to the worship of Baphomet as a family tradition. In truth, the cultists who call themselves Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth are searching day and night for weaknesses in the Crusader ranks, a doubtful mind to corrupt, a wavering heart to break, an ember of cowardice to fan. Beware of the cultists of Baphomet, for they might be standing next to you, looking over your shoulder and laughing at what you are reading. In the year 4606, the expanses of Sark Oris were tainted by the swollen abscess of colossal proportions that was the World Wound, a tier between Golarion and the Abyss that let thousands upon thousands of demons onto the material plane. In the long years that followed, the Khelids of Sark Oris either fled or fell, outmatched, while fighting for their home. In the year 4622, the Church of Iomade announced the beginning of the First Crusade, a blessed war against the demons that had destroyed Sark Oris and now threatened neighboring lands. Valiant warriors, led by Queen Gafri herself, pushed the abyssal servants away from their borders and returned home victorious. The year 4630 marked the end of the First Crusade. Numerous fortresses and garrisons were established in those years in former Sarkorian lands, the outposts duty-bound to watch over Mendaf's borders. After 8 years, in 4638, the World Wound suddenly expanded to 4 times its previous size, unleashing new monstrous hordes. The worst of the blows suffered by the Crusaders was the loss of Drazen, a fortress city that used to serve as a base for many a military operation. The Second Crusade was called, which claimed countless lives, yet never resulted in victory. Only with the creation of the Wardstones was the demon invasion stopped, as the loosened Iomeda's magic stood as an impenetrable wall, blocking the invaders' path. In the year 4645, after 7 years of arduous and mirthless war, the Second Crusade came to an end. The Third Crusade was declared in 4665, but this time, the Crusaders were fighting a war within their own ranks as well. Over the years, many Abyss-serving cultists and spies had found their way past Mendevian defenses. The Third Crusade reached the apex of an inquisition that mercilessly purged heresy and demon worship by fire and sword. The crusade was called off in 4668, after the atrocities of interrogators had provoked sufficient upheaval and discontent among the populace. The Fourth Crusade was instigated by demons in the year 4692, when they broke through the protective barrier of the Wardstones. With righteous fury, the champions of Mendaf fought the demons for 15 years, aiming to put an end to the old threat. But by the conclusion of the Fourth Crusade, which ended in 4707 due to a shortage of supplies and manpower, decisive victory was just as remote a possibility as it had been for all of the previous crusades.
is the heart's greatest challenge.
What's that over there? Nah, I don't even want to know.
Open your heart to me. I hope you appreciate this.
Never a dull moment.
The spirits guide me. You can trust me. I am helpful, am I not?
I don't need anyone's sympathy. I appreciate privacy.
Tell us, O teacher, why would Brevoy call us barbarians in the books you give us? The gods became angry with our homeland, my son. This land has devoured so many great empires, as if it was unwilling to bear life. There are centuries-old ruins around our settlement. They were ravaged by a star that fell from the sky. The kingdom of the Cyclopes was the first victim of its curse. New settlers claimed this land 10 centuries later, to establish a beautiful country named Ioberia, which stretched from the Lake of Mists and Vales to the Castrovan Sea. But the curse still lay upon these lands, and trouble came once again. Our ancestors suffered numerous maladies. The tear plague, the char death, the choking death, one after another, leaving only pain behind. People say that Otib the necromancer was to blame. But who knows, a great civilization was turned to dust. This is why I'm teaching you. Brevoy shouldn't make fun of you or call you barbarians.
Have a seesaw chorus green again.
rules are made to be broken.
I heed the voice of the spirits.
Oh, skip the pleasantries.
Well?
You see an undead man dressed in a style popular among Mendevian crusaders 100 years ago. Though long decayed, his expensive adornments indicate high status, and the clean and functional cut of his suit places its wearer in a military profession. The undead man sizes you up with a lordly glance. Greetings, Crusader. You have the honor of meeting Zacharias the Lich, the last warden of the newfound sanctuary and master of this place. I sensed you as soon as you stepped through the gates of my stronghold. There is something in your bag that belongs to me. Give me my wand, and as my oath dictates I shall give you a gift. A Lich is the ultimate expression of a necromancer's power, representing their ability to transcend death and achieve immortality by becoming a powerful and intelligent undead creature. At the culmination of the process of becoming a Lich, a necromancer transfers their soul into a specially created phylactery. As long as the phylactery remains intact, the Lich cannot die. The famous wizard crusader Zacharias is honored in Mendef as one of the brightest heroes of the wars against the demons. His final feat, protecting the priests and congregation of the Lost Chapel, ended the sad chronicle of days after the fall of Drazen. What's this? The Zacharias is an unholy walking corpse? The legendary hero, righteous of the righteous? The man after whom 6 of my acquaintances from the most pious noble families were named. Duran doubles over in laughter. Oh, I cannot wait to tell everyone about this. Who should I write to first, the Right Honorable Baron Zacharias or the Reverend Abbess Zacharia? Sela grips her weapon and chokes out an oath.
A lich, an actual lich. This isn't a laughing matter. We might not get out of this alive.
Don't answer him. Don't say anything at all, talking to undead is folly. He'll hex you before you can blink. Ulbrich hastily takes out a clove of garlic from his bag, chews it, and loudly blows in the lich's direction with fingers crossed on both hands. Crack this chatty skull open and be done with it. The dark energy coming from the lich draws a response from inside you. A surge of power, similar to what you felt in the bandit cave, suppresses and overwhelms all other feelings, and fills you with new sensations. You lose control over your own body for a moment, as your hands, as if alive on their own, dive into the bag and take Zacharias's wand out. You would swear that it trembles with impatience, like a dog too long away from its beloved master. The Lich seems confused. For a moment he keeps his silence, and then adds with a trembling voice. I could kill you right now for your impudence. But you will play a different role in my plans. Will you give me the wand, or continue to waste my time? Arrogance rings in the Lich's voice. Give me the wand and humbly beg for my help, and I shall not deny it. If you show yourself a worthy crusader, I shall prepare a ritual that will turn you into a Lich. You will become an immortal being, and all shall bow down before you. And you won't even have to devote your short life to preparing for this great event. By the time I finish preparations for the ritual, you won't have aged even a year, and I shall be freed from my magic oath and may finally leave this place. And then you and I shall never meet again. A Lich for a crusade commander? If this comes to pass, I insist on being in Cousin Gaffrey's presence when she hears the news. Of course, Oxifog Meteor Stalker, it is entirely your choice, but you cannot possibly want to look. Durin nods at Zacharias. Like that.
Don't listen to him, no matter what he's got or what promises he makes. You will be turned into an undead, that's not just shedding some unwanted flesh and bone. It will spell the end of any and all humanity you currently possess. It is evil.
What exactly would you know? My feats are sung in legend. Surely every crusader knows of them. Life beyond death has been a tedious term of imprisonment in this fortress, surrounded by foolish and maddening demons. My only occupation here has been observing the Crusaders' retreat. Further and further, losing city after city. The day those vacant mortals gave up Drazen, I stopped calling myself a Crusader and began to despise them. The pathetic spawn are no threat to me. The Lich chuckles arrogantly. They've tried to attack me a few times, but swiftly regretted it. Then I grew tired of their interference, and concealed my chambers with a spell. When I required a book from the library, I would go there in an invisible guise and they had no idea I was beside them. The Lich responds with mocking laughter. Become a crusader again? Not a chance. I've already given them too much of my time. And I have killed enough demons. No, when we are finished, I shall be on my way, and the Crusaders should pray that our paths don't ever cross again. Grinding his teeth, the Lich answers. I was no hero, but a talented fool who struck off to the crusade to entertain his pride. I adored the praise of the murmuring mediocrities. How flattered I was when a heap of stone on a mountainside was given into my care. They told us our struggle was important. Such folly. As I sat trapped here, I realized that I had wasted my powers, my time, and my talents in their battles. I'd believed the tales of good and right that must be protected. But even in the kingdom of good, there are those who wield power, and those who obey. All these wars are merely an attempt to hold on to power. It matters not whose. Never again shall I wage war for anyone's power but my own. While I yet lived, I often thought how superior were the undead compared to the living. The Crusader army has suffered endless defeat, while an undead army would long ago have driven the demons back to the depths of the world wound. But though the dead would be the perfect warriors, they would answer to imperfect living masters. I needed a better solution. I studied vampires but found them too ruled by passion, and thus, utterly unsuitable. And then I considered the Lich. A Lich is the perfect undead being. It can possess fantastic power, its mind survives the transformation, and it is eternal. I envisioned an army of crusaders led by immortal liches, and I grew certain of my fate. But the process of becoming a lich takes years, and it is dangerous and tiresome, and most importantly, it is only possible for one mortal in a million. Thus I began to work on a ritual that would allow any mortal to become a lich. All without decades of practicing magic, or even wielding any magic power at all. Of course, I had to keep this research a secret. but in the end I succeeded. And the day the newfound sanctuary fell, I completed the ritual and became what I am today. Now you realize who you are dealing with. Do not forget it, for your own sake. Questions. The Lich exclaims in irritation. Give me my wand and I shall take you as an apprentice. Prove that you are a worthy crusader and I shall conduct a ritual that will make you a Lich. The oaths binding me will finally fall, and we shall disappear from each other's lives forever. What can be unclear about this? The Lich answers condescendingly. The wand is far more than just a toy used to cast spells. It is my phylactery, the charmed vessel which holds my soul. So long as it remains intact, I am eternal. If I am destroyed, I shall be reborn again near the spiritual anchor of my phylactery. Be diligent and obedient to my will, and you too will become immortal. But that is not its main value. To be free of my oath, I must grant my power to a worthy crusader who brings me my wand and asks for help. Until that day, I serve as a prisoner in this pathetic abode. Zacharias answers with a sneer. That would be most convenient for you, wouldn't it? Sorry to disappoint you. If you refuse my instructions, I will kill you, and your corpse will deliver my wand back to Canavers. And I will wait for another 100 years, until another crusader comes to my door. But I value my time, as I suspect you value your life. It is better for both of us that you heed my words. A low growl escapes the Lich before he speaks. Do not flatter yourself. Fate has decided this, not I who is bound by magic oaths. Only by fulfilling them will I be able to leave this pathetic place. When I was foolish and taken with crusader ideas, I made a mistake. I feared that becoming a Lich might change me. I feared becoming a villain. And so I bound myself with a magic oath, which stops me from leaving this place until a worthy crusader comes here to return my wand and seek my aid. I dispatched my apprentice, Teldon, to spread word of my final wishes, and so began my wait for crusaders who would appear to accept my knowledge. But the days passed, and with them came a new understanding. What a magnificent idiot I had been. I had bound myself in a pointless oath, never thinking of the consequences. But now you are here, and the oath is about to be fulfilled. I shall wait no longer. Enough priceless time has been lost. I hope you realize what a generous offer I've made to you. The green radiance in the Lich's eyes fades. What a pathetic sight, a mortal refusing power over death. I have wasted enough time on you, and now you will repay me. I shall transform you into a zombie and send you to Canavers, where you will return my wand to where it belongs. I hope the next crusader to come calling will be wiser. Reaching out to you with his bony hand, the Lich casts a spell. The wand leaps from your hands by an invisible force. Its loss fills you with a strange feeling, as if something dark and ominous, which settled in your soul when you found the wand, was just violently wrested from you.
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
No glory without risk!
Ayana.
I'll cut you wide open.
This is not my time yet.
Matricium Turinos.
I'm curious. Meditate on your mistakes. Might make you feel better.
Unimosi Travisi. Unimosi Travisi. Unimosi Travisi.
This is not my time yet.